Hello, everyone, and welcome to CodeCast by STL Tech Talk. We're going to be bringing you the content you want and need: instructional, informative, unique, and insightful commentary on programming, code, and technology. Coming to you live, my name is JJ Hammond, and I am joined tonight by two coding experts. Our first guest is a fire-breathing geek and inventor. Went to school at USC. He likes to talk about the science of great UI designs. He is a 5-year C# MVP alumni with strong expertise in decoupled design, plugin architecture, and great user interfaces. The chief architect of the IDE Tools division at Developer Express, and is the visionary force behind CodeRush, a developer suite of tools. He has been writing code for the last 30 years. The hilarious and brilliant Mark Miller. Thank you for being on the show, sir.
That's amazing. I feel like I need to breathe some real fire and be hilarious on the show at the same time.
I believe that you can do that.
Yeah, we're going to hold up one of those signs. You know, only one day since an accident on this show.
I know, right?
We'll be holding that up tomorrow.
I'll put it right on the door behind me here.
Yeah, definitely.
However, this show would not be possible without my fellow host, the guy that you just heard talking a second ago. He strives to bring development knowledges to anyone who is willing to learn, and has spent the last 20 years architecting and implementing highly scalable ASP.NET applications. Our very own Gus Emery. How are you doing, sir?
Not too bad, JJ. Mark, thank you for coming on the show. I know you've been busy, doing a lot of stuff lately, but I'm glad you could take time for us.
Sure, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you.
Fantastic. And don't forget, everyone, you can follow us on Twitter, #CodeCast, or at STL CodeCast. Also, you can find us on Facebook, STL Tech Talk, Google+, subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, or listen to the show live directly on our website. Also, you can catch all of our old episodes, and they're awesome, and you should totally do that. And don't forget, while you're on the site, to check out our tech news, our podcasts, our CodeCast, programming code information, hands-on reviews, event coverage, and much, much more. And don't forget, you can interact with the show by sending us feedback to podcast@stltechtalk.com. And if you're watching us live, you can ask us questions via the chat room, and we will do our very best to answer those questions in a timely manner. I wanted to thank all of our listeners for downloading the show and viewing the show. CodeCast had its biggest download numbers to date, so thank you for listening. We all appreciate that very much. Also, I wanted to take a moment to thank the sponsors of our show, Inertia Software, creating cutting-edge, highly scalable Microsoft technological solutions to the energy industry. Visit inertia-software.com to see how you can hook up with some awesome devs there. So without further ado, let us kick off the show with the first question of Mark. What have you been up to since our last show? The last time you were on, it was episode 3, and that was about, I want to say, right around March the 12th. So what you been up to since then?
I don't know. I mowed the lawn. I got some grass clippings here I thought I'd share with you guys, and
Nice.
I built a keyboard. I don't know if we do the grass clippings first or the keyboard.
Let's do the keyboard.
Yeah, the police are interested in the grass that I've been growing. They're like, let me just do this. I'll do this for you.
Right. I was getting ready to say, depending on the grass, we might have a completely different audience now.
A different
right.
show. Oh, wow, check this out.
Demographic and so.
I did the most awesome thing. So speaking of drugs and other substances, I just shared my screen that had the same window as Google Hangouts, and then I saw this kind of concentric kind of Chrome window just fading off into the distance. Yeah, I was like, oh, I think I can step inside, but no, it looks like I cannot. So yeah, I built a keyboard. In fact, let's bring over. I'm going to bring over another window over here into my screen share, and you should be able to see this. Do you see the Chrome window?
We
here?
do. Yes, sir.
Okay. So this started as a series of blog posts last week, starting with this one, creating the ultimate developer keyboard, and I'm just kind of scroll through this, and you can see the pictures here and what I'm thinking about doing here. I'm basically talking about creating an additional keyboard that works with the one you're already using, that kind of goes to the side of it and has keys dedicated for tasks that programmers do all the time. So I created this mock-up here, this kind of Photoshop mock-up initially in part 1. I talk about some of the functionality I'm interested in doing, creating Part 2, we actually build some of that functionality. I show you how to build the plugins that do it, but we still don't have a keyboard yet. In Part 3, the keyboard actually arrives, and I start talking about, well, I'm not happy with it from a actual pressing the key point of view, and I've got this chart right up here, and this is like totally subjective, but as the key position goes, let me see if I can click on this to get this bigger, there we go. So as the key position goes from up to down on this X Keys professional keyboard I've got, it says I'm pushing the key down, it seems to resist more, and then all of a sudden there's this click, and then it's easy, and then there's a little more resistance near the end. And I compare that with my Microsoft Natural Keyboard, which is pretty much even, steady pressure as the key depresses all the way from the up to the down position until I get a click. And the other thing I notice is that with the Microsoft Natural Keyboard, that click feels very precise. It seems to happen in the same place every time. However, with the X Keys Professional, it feels a little sloppier. It's like a click, and then all of a sudden it's like I've just gone over the top of the roller coaster a little bit. Now this is all subjective. I didn't actually measure the force of these, and this is something that most people probably wouldn't notice. But it's one of the things that I noticed in here. However, the other aspects of the hardware were all excellent. They exceeded all of my expectations. I really like these little flat things where I can take out a key and I can put in a little flat spacer, as you can see here in these pictures. And then here's a look at the keyboard with the spacers in it. And then I have these key labels, and I talk about just printing them out and putting them underneath the. You just cut them out and put them underneath these little lift-up keycaps. And then I talk about building an engine to support all of this. And here's some screenshots. I'll actually show you the engine, the pieces inside the engine, and then I've got this GIF here where you can see me operating it right here, and with the code and what's happening. So this is what the series does. It kind of takes you through the features I want to build, and I'm kind of writing it. I'm trying to write it from a hardware independent point of view, and also from a software independent point of view. In fact, now that I'm talking to you, I'm wondering if I should, let me just stop screen sharing a minute. I'll go back and you'll see my face here for a second, because I thought that might make sense. So from the point of view of the software, I wanted to make it so that you could replace another piece of hardware and the software would still work. And also from the point of view of the software, I wanted to make it so that you could not have to be you wouldn't have to run CodeRush inside Visual Studio, because some of the features exploit CodeRush features. And also that you wouldn't have to run, for example, even Visual Studio, that it would work Eclipse, for example, or something. So I did the approach. Now, did I succeed entirely in that? No, I didn't. But I got close. I have a pretty good framework, framework that's out there, and kind of an approach to doing this, and certainly sample code that you could take and then port to another IDE like Eclipse, for example. So let me go switch over. I'll switch back over into the screen share.
Okay. While you're doing that, what made you think of creating such a keyboard?
Well, this has been something that I've been thinking about actually for I want to say since about 2003, maybe easily. I'm a huge UI guy. I'm big on efficiency, right? So efficiency is my god. It's my rule. You know, it's the deciding factor. What is the most efficient? And when it comes to UI, efficiency breaks into two main subcategories. One is efficiency of motion, and the other is efficiency of thought. Now, there are some features that exist that are hard to access because they require some thinking, and also hard to access because they require some key combinations that are a little trickier to get to. And so these happen again and again with programming, because with programming you get, over time your more and more features are added to the editor. As an example, I think Visual Studio ships with over 2,000 editor commands alone, and I think over 3,000 commands that work throughout the entire IDE, something like that. I think those numbers are right. And there's no way you're going to remember keystrokes to all of those, and you're not going to access all of those. You're just not going to do that. So how do we get access to these? Well, what we've done in the past is we've come up with these key combinations, and what happens is developers find the few features that they can work well with, and they discard the features that just don't bring enough to the table, or they just haven't learned because they're hard to discover. And so as an example, in Visual Studio, if we want to uncomment or comment a block of code, we hit Control K. Sorry, we hold the Control key down, we hit the letter K, then we hit the letter C, and then we release the Control key. Mm-hmm. That's the combination that we do, Control K, C. And so we do that, we learn those things, but they're harder to do. So as somebody who's always seeking out the most efficient way to do something, the least amount of thought, the least amount of movement, a keyboard that extends the existing QWERTY keyboard, which by the way has got keys that don't belong here. For example, caps lock is something from the old days, and it's still taking up something that's like the space of at least 2 keys, right? Yep. So and if I'm looking at my Microsoft Natural Keyboard right now, and across here I have got keys that are that don't quite agree from app to app. Like I've got a spell key and a print key and a forward and a reply key on the top labels of my function keys. So it's like nobody's really quite delivering something that works for programmers. And so this is kind of like what you're seeing and what we're showing today is what I would call part 1 of hopefully a bigger idea, a bigger thing. What I'm really looking for is something that's can snap to the side of an existing keyboard, the left or the right, or maybe both sides. I have some keys there. I can talk a little bit about that too. I haven't really gone too much into the future stuff. I've got one more blog post to write. It'll probably come out tomorrow in the series where I talk about, I just wrap everything up. By the way, the blog series, to get to it quickly, you can go to devexpress.com/keyboard, and you can get to the start of that series. But so anyway, that's it. Let's show it to you working, and you can kind of get a sense of how it works. I'm going to go into here. I'm going to first bring up the options, and actually before I do that, I'll show you the keyboard. So this right here is a window that I built that gives me a live view of the keyboard. So you can see it right there. I'm just moving my hand in front of it. And this is just a stay on top window that shows another webcam that I have just hanging down right on top of the keyboard. It's kind of like one of those cooking shows, right, where you can see I'm mixing eggs or something like that. And I want to bring up the CodeRush options dialog. I was about to get it through DevExpress, CodeRush options. But then I realized, oh, you know what, I got the keyboard. Let me just show you on the keyboard. So it's just this button right here. I just push that button down right there, and then go ahead and move this out of the way. There it is. And so awesome. We have, they're cooking awesome, yeah. So, so here's the layout. So there are 2 major pages to this, okay? And with most hardware keyboards, there are going to be two of these. In fact, let me bring this on screen here so you can see both of these at the same time. If I'm with this up, if I come in here and I push like a button, you can see the button goes pink when the button goes down, right? So you can see as I'm pushing this, holding these buttons down, you can see what's happening down in here. Okay? Mm-hmm. Now, what I'm able to do is I'm able to come in here and, for example, here I have the layout option. I say that this is tall. If I click that, it now becomes two buttons right here. So I can select, like multiple select these and say I want that to be a tall button. Or down here, if we undo the wide, I can say I want to select both of these buttons and make that a wide button. And what's happening is here, if you look over here on the piece itself, this key actually covers over 2 other keys below it. And I think I can actually pop this out. I wasn't actually going to do this. I wasn't planning on doing this, but I thought, well, you know, I might be able to do this so you can actually see underneath this. So let me pop that up. And let me do one other thing too. I just want to come in here and I want to just zoom in on this a little bit. We'll zoom in and we'll scan down a little bit so you can see that. And there it is right down there. I also have the ability with this app to select an area that I'm interested in, so it takes up less space. So here you can see the 2 keys that are underneath here. There's the CodeRush. So what I'm going to do is I'm just saying that those 2 keys are in fact 1. The advantage of that is that now when one of the 2 buttons, because I've got a physical thing over the top of them, right? let me just zoom back out here so we can see a little bit more. This physical key, when it goes down, is going to push one of those two first, likely, and then the other one right afterwards. And then when I release, there's going to be something similar that's happening as well. They're not releasing at exactly the same time, not going down at the same time. So part of the engine has to check to see what's going on, and the layout page allows the engine to realize that if this one goes down here first, in other words, if I push my finger over here and I push that one on the left first, the one on the right should be going down as well. So that's what's going on with the layout. That's part of what's happening with the layout. The other thing that's happening with the layout engine are all of these down keys. Let me zoom out here again so you can see all these. So all of these keys that I've got these blockers in, these keys, if I turn off blocker for every single one of these, you can see that they're showing up pink, which means they're in the down position. The down position means that they are, in fact, I can do this a little faster with the keyboard, but the down position makes sense because the blockers are actually holding down that key stem right underneath it. Well, what happens is this is going to send out some data to the engine that's essentially a matrix of what keys are down. In fact, if I just put my hand over the whole thing and I start pushing down, you're going to see it like something that looks a little bit like an imprint of my hand or the fingers that are on there. Right, that's what's going on there, right? So you're getting a little bit of an image of that. Now, I do have this cool option here called Auto Detect Blockers that just runs through everything and just checks to see every key that's down and just sets a blocker position. Like that, sets it as a blocker. So that now it's removed from that matrix so we don't have that noise of those keys being down. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense. That's really cool.
And then the last thing is that I have, for these keys, I have the ability to specify a name, and then this other option says key repeats if held down. Now, this keyboard that I bought, this X Keys Professional 58, I think is what it was called, because it has 58 keys. This keyboard came with its own software that I felt was just too bulky. The UI was a little too many steps, a little too hard to use, I felt. And I wanted to discard it completely, so that's what I ended up doing. And one of the cool things about discarding it completely is I had the ability to also add options like this one, key repeats if held down. So we have that, and the auto detect blockers. I actually think they might have had that feature too that I just rewrote. So there's that page. Let me go over to the other page, which is the shortcuts page. And here you can see a little mini version of that, and this is all still live. So if I bring this back over and you see me, I'm going to hit this escape key. And watch right up here, there's the escape key there. You should see that go pink right there, indicating that it's down, like that. So if I want to create a new shortcut binding, I just click this button here, and now this has got focus. So now I can click any button on here, whatever I want to bind. Let's say maybe the up arrow, like that. And it's there. You can see now it's blue, indicating it's selected. And I can come up here and I can say maybe let's combine that with the control key. So control up is going to have a particular binding. And we might come in here and we might select some sort of command from this list. For example, like I could bring up, for example, the CodeRush about box, for example, or maybe there was an add line after. I suppose we can do that. See what that does, and then I can add a context to it as well. For example, I can say only work when the code editor has focus. So that's my context. I can have a very complicated one by checking different boxes over here. So I've just done that. I click OK. And now if I come in here and I hold down the control key on my regular keyboard and hit the up arrow, there you can see that we're doing that add line whatever feature right there that goes in, and apparently it adds a semicolon to the end of the line that I'm on and goes down to the next line. So that's an example of a key binding. Now I've got a whole bunch of key bindings in here using those two dialogues. Oh, the other thing I was going to show with that, here, let me bring up the options dialog again. So the other thing I was going to show with that, we'll go ahead and take that add line after command and we'll remove that for now because that's not what I want to have. The other thing is that the names of the keys as they show up on the layout page, like run last test, are showing up here in the shortcuts. So the name of the key is there that you're seeing. So I've just named the keys and now we're seeing them here over on the left, whatever those keys are. So if you want to read more about how that all was built, you can go to that devexpress.com/keyboard link I gave earlier. But now I'd like to actually show you some of the features. And let's zoom in a little bit. And I'll start with the first features that I built. And we'll come over here to this side over here, and we'll just grab these keys right here. Okay. And this is the first features that I built. And I need to get to, I guess we can work right here. So these are keys for inserting keys that are normally hard to get to, right? Hitting the brace, if you're a C# programmer, this is a hard key to hit. So it's normally a shift key is held down. I've got to come over to that open square bracket key that also has the open angle bracket key on it. And then I've got to hit that, and that key's kind of off to the side, and so I may not be able to hit it. I may have to take my hands off the keyboard to look to find it, and then I release my hand from the shift key and keep typing, doing whatever I want to do. It's hard to hit. Now if I want to get a pair of these in here, for example, notice I've got a pair right around there. Let's say I want to take those. Let me just delete those two, and let's say I had maybe this selected. I can now just hit the key, one of these two. It doesn't matter if I hit the one on the right. It'll embed the selection and put the caret on the right side there. So the caret's that flashing I-beam cursor. And if I undo that and I hit the one on the left, you can see it embeds selection in braces and puts the caret on the left side. Okay. So let me just pause right there. You guys with me so far? What do you think so far?
So far, I love it.
This is the friggin' Mark Miller show. What are you talking about?
Okay, all right, everybody's happy. All right, good. All right. I just want to make sure I wasn't, because I got the grass clippings. I can bring those out. Some fascinating strands of grass. So, okay, so that's what happened. No, I wasn't in there.
Hey, so if you can cut grass and understand what you're saying at the same time, God love you.
All right, so here we go. I'm now going to cut this to the clipboard. So that's just in the clipboard. And let's say I want to have braces right here. I just hit the open brace key, like that. It puts the caret between the braces. I can now paste that bit of code in there and hit enter, and I'm now outside the braces, like that. Okay? So I can do that. Oops, the paste was changed it to a double equals. There we go. There's the real right there. Okay, so I have that. Now if I undo that again, let me undo that one more time, and we'll get right back here. This time, if I want to do a closing brace, or I'm sorry, if I hit the closing brace key, what happens is it gives me the open brace with the closed brace, and the caret's now on the outside. So if I hit keys on the right side down here, the caret will be on the right side. And if I hit keys on the left side, they'll be inside it. Here again, I'll show you one more time. Here, if I hit like the open paren, caret is inside it. I can type in whatever I want here and then hit enter to get outside, like that. Okay? So that's how we do it. If I want the caret on the inside, I hit the one on the left, and then I can paste it. And what's cool about this is that this gets rid of having two keys like this solves the problem of where do you want to put the cursor. Sometimes you want to put it on the left, sometimes you want to put it on the right, sometimes you want to put it in between, that sort of thing. And just by having two all the way down, it just solves that in a nice, neat, easy to remember way. All right? Now, I wanted to take this to the next level. And I actually take you through the steps of writing this next feature. But here's the idea. I like efficiency, right? If I have an if statement with only one child node like I have here, I don't want the braces. And I want it to be simple and fast to remove them. So I want to just be able to just hit a brace key and remove them, like that.
Nice.
Or if I'm in this situation, I realize, I want to add more stuff here. I want to be able to add a brace key simply by just hitting a key in that situation. So 6 different features bound to these 2 keys that changes depending on context. Is there a selection? Is there not a selection? Or am I in a place where I can either add or remove the braces, like that? So it's very, very, very cool. Very, very cool. Very, very cool stuff. So those are these keys all the way down here. Any questions on those? Was that clear what I said? That I have the 6 on these. The rest of these only have 4 features, but this I've bound those refactorings to them as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's gorgeous and a great use of stacking those on top of each other too, instead of spreading them out. I like that design as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that would save me so much time, seriously.
So, when I'm talking about the keyboard that kind of goes left and right, I imagine this column right here. Here, I'll select it one more time so you can see it. I'm imagining this column on the left of the keyboard. That's what I'm imagining. And I'm imagining this group over here on the right, and maybe this along the top with display changing, with keys that change what their images are based on context and what you're doing. Because as a developer, we often have different hats or modes that we work in. Sometimes we're debugging, sometimes we're refactoring, sometimes we're declaring things, right? Sometimes we're testing. Having those different modes, those different, having a set of keys that are dedicated to each of those modes and switching as those modes change, right, I think makes some sense. Okay.
Yeah, like you say, the effortlessness and the instantaneous. You're being more efficient with how you work and making sure you're cleaning up, because a lot of the times going back through and walking through the code, that's a big deal. Obviously, everybody knows that if they've been tracking with us so far. So this is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
definitely. I mean, this seriously would save me so many keystrokes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll talk about some more features here. So this section right here is kind of a nav section, a navigation section, and I've used a graphic context here, which I'm not sure if I've explained or not. I don't remember if I explained it or not, but the context works like this: is if you see a green arrow, it's a navigation feature. If you see a blue arrow, it's a navigation feature that can be used with the Shift key to extend the selection. Well, I say that now, but I'm not sure. I have to double check on this one. That was my intent, but I haven't actually verified that works with this feature. In fact, it probably doesn't work with this feature. I need to change these to green arrows now that I'm thinking about it. But I'll show you these features here. These are for navigation in here. So we'll start on the bottom left. This is a marker. And so, let me just find some interesting code, see if I can find something a little more interesting. I guess I'll go with this for lack of anything better. So here I've got some code. If you look your eyes down, put your eyes in the bottom of the screen here. I'm going to hit Control-KK to put a Visual Studio bookmark here, and you can see it off on the left. And I'm also going to drop a marker, which is just this button right here. And this marker is just like stack-based markers. Excuse me. So I can drop different locations of interest as I'm working through the code and then later collect those. So if I go up to the top of the file, we're just going to go somewhere else so you can kind of clear your mind a minute of where we were. But still, you probably have a recollection of what it looks like. If I hit Control-KN to jump to that bookmark, we are, in fact, on the same line of code that we put the bookmark on. However, a couple things have changed. The selection that I originally had is no longer selected, and the code is moved up to the middle of the screen. That takes about 600 milliseconds for your brain to realize and recognize you're in the exact same place you were in before. It's not a huge penalty, right? It's something we can all do, but it's something that has nothing to do with actually writing the code and the functionality of the program I'm working on. And so I'd much rather have my brain, have a lower cognitive load on any of the can I say bullshit on this podcast? Of any of the extra stuff. How about if I do that? I saw everybody reach for the red button right there.
You just did, so it is what it is.
You cannot say that. Okay, but it gets rid of that extra stuff that some of us know as BS. Miguel Castro, by the way, if he's listening in, is probably going, he's hitting his clicker. Miller just hit it once, right? So I want to get rid of all that extra is what I want to do. So let's go back up to the top again, and this time we're going to hit the escape key to collect the marker. And now what happens is the selection is restored, and we can see that also the view position is restored as well, right? So that saves us about 600 milliseconds of trying to figure out, okay, we are in the right spot. Right? So that's kind of what's going on there with markers. Like I say, they're stack-based, so I can drop one here. I can go somewhere else in the code. I can drop them another marker there, right there, and you see right under the location there's a little triangle if it's just marking a single location, and if it's a selection, you can see it's drawn the whole selection. It gives you these little symbols around the selection, and I can just keep working, and then I just hit escape to collect those off of the stack, and then I'm moving down. You can see I'm down here now. So those are these two features. Over here, we have access to features that are already built in Visual Studio. We just improved them a little bit. So Visual Studio's got this feature that allows you to go back and forth through previous edits. And the shortcut key is Control minus, I think, and Control Shift minus. So if you've used those, then you've discovered that key because it's pretty useful. I've decided to put them into 2 keys because I wanted to make it more discoverable. I wanted the feature to be more discoverable, and I wanted to intercept Visual Studio's feature to make it better. Because one of the problems I have when I use Visual Studio's feature is that it's hard for me to move my eyes and get my eyes in the right spot as I'm jumping around. And I wanted to add something to help me get my eyes in the right spot. So if I just hit this to go backwards through previous edits, let's see. There we go. I don't know if you can see it or not. I have to look at the other screen to see if you can see it. You should see a light green concentric circle moving my eyes in. And then I can see it. I can see it over on the other screen. And if I move forward, I can see it as well. So I'm now moving forward through different edits as well in the file, right there.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah. So that's what's happening. Is I've just added these little locator beacons to Visual Studio's feature, which is one of the cool things that you can do in CodeRush, right? You're already hooked into Visual Studio. You can take existing features that the Visual Studio team has already worked hard, and you can improve that they've worked hard on, and you can improve them. So that's cool. That's what these 2 buttons do. This button right here switches the last marker you dropped with the caret. So it's useful for working in 2 places at once. So for example, let's say I'm here on isRed inside this test method because maybe I want to work on it. Maybe I'm working here. So let's drop a marker here. And let's go get inside the isRed piece, which is part of which is inside of card. I'm just going to click on it to get to it to navigate. The reason I'm avoiding using other features. Oh, it looks like hold on. I've got a breakpoint in my. I'm actually this instance of Visual Studio. I'm running from another instance of Visual Studio. Let me just keep that running here. And all right. So I'm just going to go over here, and so you can see here isRed is not implemented yet. So maybe I want to work on here. Now let's say I'm working for a while, I want to go back to the other place, I just hit this button. It just swaps me locations from where I am to the other one. There's my selection. Maybe I'm like, whatever I'm doing, I'm not sure what I'm doing. Maybe I'm going to come down here, maybe do something else with card dot whatever, maybe call bend, I don't know. I'm just like making stuff up as I go along, and I'm done. I'm just going to now hit this button again to get back to where I was before. And now I'm back over here. Maybe I'm going to write some more code. I'm not sure what that's going to be yet. And then I just kind of go back and forth like this. So that's what's going on. That's the purpose of this key. It swaps the last marker you dropped with the caret position and drops a marker at the last caret position so you can go back and forth by just hitting the key. Okay? Okay, the last 2 features. Let's see if we've got something useful. I need something with a lot of methods in it. This is not bad. I guess I can demo it here. Okay, so these 2 features are features we wrote in another in a CodeRush feature webinar a while back. And let me see if I can get a. Here's my Windows Live Writer, by the way. This is the blog post I'm working on for tomorrow. So you kind of get a preview of this. This is the feature. Yeah, this is the preview of the future, right? So if you ever, we're turned on by those movies where, hey, we can see what's happening tomorrow. This is the newspaper headline for tomorrow. I'm going to click here to download and install, and this just gives me a link to this. This is this really cool feature we built in the CodeRush feature workshop, and you can see a GIF of it playing right here. I'll show it to you live inside of Visual Studio. And the idea is this. I want to get from this method down to this method. Maybe there's something similar about the 2 methods. Sometimes that happens, right? So I put the caret right here before the method name, and I hit the down method button. It takes me to the next method, and it puts the caret in the same exact spot. So I can go up and down like this, keeping the caret right at the start of the method name, like that. Or maybe what I want to do is I want to look at the parameters that are passed. So I can select the parameters, for example, hit the down button, no selection there. Oh, there is a selection here, right? And it just keeps my eyes focused on that spot as I move up and down through the code. Like, Or maybe I want to select like the first method. for example, or have the caret on the first method. Again, just the up and down arrow keys will keep that caret right in that location. It didn't select it up inside of to suit because this was an assignment and there's no assignment up here. But if we added some code here that said something like value equals, or let's do something else. Let's do a new int that says like my int equals value, like that. Now we select this and we hit the down button, like that. We now are selected down there and we're selected up here. So it's just if you have something in similar and you want to check them out, or you just want to move from method to method and be in the same spot relative in both of those methods, that's what these are for. Now, I loved this feature when I wrote it, but I ultimately never ended up using it because I didn't like the shortcut key. It was too hard to press. Now that I've got it on the keyboard, it's accessible.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So let me zoom out. Let's go ahead here. We'll escape out of this. We'll zoom all the way back. And now let me ask you this, because I feel like I'm going a little bit slowly, and I'm worried now about time, that maybe I should either speed up or I should edit. And I'll need you guys to just jump in and tell me. You good now?
You keep going. If this isn't fire-breathing and hilarious, I don't know what is.
Yeah. Keep going. This is awesome.
Okay. I'm not breathing fire right now. I'm actually going slowly. I can breathe fire. But the problem is I'm worried that that if I do that it's not going to come across very well. I feel like I have to speak slowly for the internet,
Sure.
Not for the internet listeners, but the internet itself that's pumping the data.
It's true. It's true that your bandwidth is too much to fit through the small hole.
Right. Also, plus, I don't know if you guys have seen this or not. Hold on a second. I need to go back over here and bring up. Where's my Hangouts? I just totally lost my window. Where is it? Google Hangouts. Where are you? It's like hiding somewhere on my screen.
Polo.
Okay, there we go.
Polo.
Oh, it's sharing the screen. So I'm going to say stop sharing here for a second. And now let's see what.
There's Mark.
Now where are you? Google Hangouts. Really? You see me?
Yeah, I see
I can't
it.
even see my Google Hangouts.
It's there somewhere.
There it is. I got you. Okay, well. Okay, so we need to edit this last, 2 minutes out because here comes the punchline to the setup that was 2 minutes ago. I don't know if you've seen it, kids, but this head is giant. 20 megabit upload is not going to get this head up there to you guys. So that was my joke. I know. It's like everybody's like, "Oh, really? You made us wait for that." Okay, so let's go ahead and get back into the keys here. So one of the other things that I do on my full keyboard is I make use of. In fact, I can bring my full keyboard and kind of get it in here and maybe get it in focus. I don't want to move underneath it. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. But I make use of these numeric keys off to the side here. This is my CodeRush key, which means it's my refactoring and declare key. And then I use these arrow keys right next to it. And then I use over here, this is my enter key for the menu items. And I'm really fast. I can use one hand to do a lot of refactorings. I wanted to give the same experience to people that built this keyboard. So here we're moving through the code here. You can see I'm in the code. I'm just going to hit the CodeRush key. And we're going to choose what refactoring we want. And so I've got the arrow keys right next to it. So I can go up and down on the menu, choose the piece I want, hit enter for, for example, for extract interface there. And there you see I built an icon, right? I can hit escape to get back. I can also do the same thing here where I'm collecting markers as well inside of here. Actually, I don't need that marker right there. I want to go, let me just keep collecting markers here. I want to get back to a place back in time that's before that is red piece down there. So we have direction, which is right up here at the top. And by the way, I'm hearing an echo, guys, so I don't know if somebody may have their speakers on. They can turn that off. That will speed me up a little bit if I don't hear that echo. All right, so yeah, that might have been why I was slow the whole time. So here I am on direction. I just want to use the CodeRush key again. I want to do some refactoring here. So I'm going to hit this, and now I'm going to encapsulate this private field into a read-only property. And so I'll just hit enter right over there. And then now the target picker is active, so I'm just specifying where I want to put that property. I'll put it right there, and I'll hit enter. And now I've got this direction that's here that I've added. But I don't have it up at the top in my interface, and I want to add it to the interface. So I just hit the CodeRush key again, like this, and now I've got add to interface iCar showing up down here, right there, and I just hit enter. And so I have this kind of one-handed refactoring that's available to me here. That's what's going on with these keys. This key over here is the nav key, the transporter key. And you can see it kind of looks like a transporter from the future. If I hit that key, that will bring up the jump to menu that allows me to select where I want to navigate to. And I can go to different options based on where we are. So I can jump, for example, into base types, for example, if I want to do that. Let me get to something that's maybe a little more interesting here, like if I'm up here on direction. Actually, I think I had, oh, here, iBeverage. I added this, which I thought was even more interesting. So here, for example, I'm in the interface iBeverage. I might have implementers out there somewhere. If I want to get to them, I just come in here and I can say jump to implementations, like that. And if I have several of them, it will take me, it'll give me a submenu to choose from. But if I only have one, it takes me right to. And here we can see that the fill level is half full. I really think I want to change that to half empty. And there we go, I've made that change. And then once we've done that, we've done a jump, we can hit the escape key, which is on the keyboard as well, right up here, the escape key, to get back to, whoops, let me go back. Hit the escape key and to jump back to where we started in that navigation from. So this is your all-purpose kind of transporter key to move around. You can go through virtual methods to overrides, that sort of thing, to implementations of interface members, up and down hierarchies, things like that. Speaking of navigation, let's next go up into here. Let me zoom in a bit on the keyboard, scroll up to the top, and we'll jump in right over here and grab these keys. So these keys are kind of interesting as well. These keys are features that have been in CodeRush for a long time. I remember when I was first showing Scott Hanselman CodeRush, I showed him these features, and he totally glommed onto them. He was like, "Those are awesome," and he used them. I even saw him talking about them when he was talking about how easy it was to select certain structural elements and them using these keys. These keys have the blue arrows on them, so I can combine them with the Shift key. And I'll explain what these are. These are structural navigation keys. And all source code, whether you're dealing with HTML or you're dealing with CSS or you're dealing with VB or Python, it doesn't matter. All source code has structure to it. There is kind of a parenting-child relationship in essentially all source code. Some kinds of source code, such as C++, go beyond parent-child relationship, because when you introduce macros and templates and things like that, you can actually have multiple ways of interpreting code depending on which pass you're in, for example. For example, with macros can completely change the meaning and the interpretation of code. However, most code that we deal with has a single structure that's easily interpreted. And these keys let you navigate through that structure. So, for example, I want to embed this inside of a try finally block, and maybe put that inside of a try catch. I'm just like doing some nesting here is all I'm doing here. And maybe let's put this, I'm going to embed this as well. I don't remember the shortcut, so I'll come over here. Oh, really? Just bold is available there? All right, so let's, I think that's a demo bug, but let's see if I have a shortcode here. Shortcut there. There we go. I've got a using kind of thing here with an expression. Actually, maybe I don't want to do using on that after all. Anyway, we'll just embed it that far. So I'm here in the code, and I want to go, let's say, up and out. So if I want to just look at the parenting, I can do this. So I just hit this button right here, and it takes me to the parent node. Hit it again, takes me to that node's parent. One more time, takes it to that parent. I can go down to the child, the first child node, using the key right below it. There it takes me to the first child, first child, first child. So I can very quickly move out and back in. Okay? let's move all the way out to the method level. Once I'm at a level where I have siblings, like with methods or statements, for example, if I had many statements, I can move to the next one just by hitting this key on the right over here. And this, you can see, moves me down. One more moves me down. So I'm now just going through the siblings here. These are all the members that are inside the class, including the comment. The comment is its own node. It stops me there, right? This isn't just passing me between methods like we saw before. This is actually passing between adjacent sibling nodes when you parse the code and look at it, for example, in an AST, for example. So I'm just moving up and down through the different siblings. I can keep going out to the parent, for example. So I can very quickly get to the parent node out to the class if I want to, or I can come in. Let me go grab some. Let me find something with a couple methods in it. I can combine these with the shift keys. So I hold the shift key now, and I say let's go to the next neighboring node, the sibling. It will. Oh really? And it doesn't work. I probably haven't bound it yet. Let me bear with me as I take a moment to debug this and see if I can fix this, because I think it's just a actually, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in. I'm going to keep this focused here just to save time. And I'm going to go in. I want to bring up the options dialog, so I'm going to hit the options key on the keyboard. Got to give the Visual Studio focus. And I think I have with that key, so that this is navigation structure, and I have node next is the key. And I think what I need to do, it's not catching it. I need to duplicate the shortcut, and I need to include the shift key with it. So now shift plus node next is going to say nav next sibling, and I think this has the ability to extend the selection. And let's just try that and see if that solves the problem. I think that's the case. I just need a few more shortcut bindings in here. So again, we'll be up here. So there's node next, there's node previous. Now I'm going to hold the shift key down and say node next. Oh, so there's something I'm missing clearly. It's just I need to do the I need to do a binding on. I think I need a different command to it. Let's see what it is. Nav next sibling. There's our nav next sibling with an extend. I don't see it. Maybe it's an extend. Nav extend. Let's see if I got something like that. I don't. All right. Well, I'll have to look it up. I thought I could solve it quickly, but I can't. But that is all, or should all be working by tomorrow's blog post when that gets up. So being able to select, hitting those. Now I do have a separate set of shortcuts on my regular keyboard that will do that. So this is what you would normally see. That, and then I do it again. It selects the next method. Or imagine these were statements next to each other, right? You can very quickly select a bunch of statements, adjacent statements or adjacent fields, whatever, regardless of where they are. They might be separated. Like here, for example, we have, whoops, let me go back to where I was. Here, we'll use the keyboard. So here, for example, I have several different members that are separated by spacing, but I can still come in here and just grab them a piece at a time like that. Just boom, boom, boom. It doesn't matter what's in there. Okay, so those are the.
Could you zoom back out on your on the keyboard? There you go. Yep.
Yep. I'm doing that. I'm going to do that now. All right. So let's do something fun. Since I just made you sit through that debugging session, let's now do something fun. I'm going to show you the pizza key right over here. So if you're a developer like me, you need to be able to get food fast. And I wanted to be able to make that easier. And so I've got this pizza key over here. I'm going to zoom in on this again. I know you're like, JJ's all like, no, don't zoom in again, Mark. I'm really tired of this. But I'm zooming in on the pizza key. I'm going to come over there and hit that, and I'll show you what happens. I hit that key. Whoops, it's not working because it says focus. Let me give Visual Studio focus. All right, hit the key. And it's jumping right in straight over into Domino's like that. It just it's straight there. Let me close that down a minute, and we'll hit it again. This time I'm going to hold down the Shift key while I hit it. And now it's going to bring up the Nom Nom dialog. And now I can choose whether I want to go to Papa John's or Pizza Hut, for example, or Five Guys to get a burger, or I want to just do a find, for example, and I can just substitute pizza for something else. I can find local pizza places, whatever, and it'll go out to Bing Maps and show me what my local pizza places are.
That's
we'll go ahead and we'll stick with Domino's for now. Once you pick your place, you can say always use this URL for future orders. And so now when you hit that button, it's going to take you right in there. And if it's a service that, allows you to store, remember your login, which most of these places are, you're already logged in, it knows where you are, and you just place your order and you hit OK. So it's really, really cool. And if I do the full-on, we were talking about this, Gus and I were talking about, turning this into a full-on keyboard, and maybe, that would take the form of a Kickstarter campaign, for example. If I do that, there will be a pizza button on the keyboard. That's one of the things. That's one of the things we're going to have on there. Well, we've got
Mountain Dew.
There you go. There you go. So we've got the pizza button on there. We also have the options button, and the options button you've seen already bring up visuals, or you've seen it bring up the CodeRush options dialog. But we also have the ability, if we hold down the Shift key and we hit the options button, to bring up the Visual Studio options dialog. So we can get to that very quickly. And we have the ability, if we hold down the Control key and hit the options dialog, to bring up the options for the current active project. So it should take a second, but there it is. What's cool about this is things that you might be going to frequently, you don't really have to go reach for the mouse anymore, right? You can get to these things very, very quickly. Of course, once you're here, you might want to have your hand on the mouse anyway, because it seems to be kind of favoring more mouse than keyboard. But that's one of the ways that you can, one of the ways you can use this key. And of course, you can change these and rebind these to anything you want. This key right here is the, in fact, let me zoom out for this one because this works with other keys as well. So we'll zoom out here and zoom out here, and let's grab, we'll grab just like from here down to here, like that. For example, we'll grab in that section right there. So this key is the one I'm looking at right up there at the top. When I hit that key, I need to get Visual Studio Focus. That's going to bring up the CodeRush clipboard history, and now we can just go right through here and grab those pieces that we want to grab from there and from the clipboard, and then paste them in. So that's the clipboard history, and we can use the arrow keys here as well, and the Enter key with the clipboard history. What's next? Oh, the ref button. So over here, we'll go look at these over here. Let me zoom in just a little bit again. So we've got these a little bigger, and you can see these. Let's scroll down. And we'll select these. Still okay on time, guys? Everybody still happy and good?
We are good, and so is that dog.
All right. Yep, that's the dog. The dog is not on my good list right now. All right. So here we go. These are the reference transitioning keys. Now inside of Visual Studio and with CodeRush installed, we bind these to Tab and Shift tab. But you might not want to have those. You might want to use those for something else. But we have a lot of context, so you don't get a Tab key accidentally. However, if you don't discover that, the feature is there, you never use it. And the cool thing about putting it on the keyboard is they're now discoverable. And all this does is it takes you to the next reference of that particular piece throughout your entire solution. So I'm just clicking on the previous reference or the last reference, that sort of thing, and I can come in and I can hit escape on the keyboard as well, just like we did before. Let me zoom out and hit escape on the keyboard like that, and I can get back to wherever I started that from. So here, again, if I come into direction, we say, let's take me to the next reference. There's my next reference, hit escape, and this takes me back to the starting location. Okay? All right, so I've got all kinds of I've got my phone ringing, I've got all sorts of things happening right now. Let's rename this method right here. I'm going to go and hit the CodeRush key. We're going to choose rename. And I'm going to rename this to accelerate past the speed of sound. Okay? And now what I've done is I've created an identifier that's got a lot of camel case pieces inside of it. And I can use these keys right here for camel case nav to just move through, and I can combine them with the Shift key. So I'm holding down the Shift key on my regular keyboard to select as well. So I can do that. I can grab the piece that I want, and I can say, for example, and this can also be useful in a rename. So for example, if I invoke a rename on this, whoops, I hit undo on my keyboard here. Sorry about that. All right. Whoops. Let's go back here. You know what? Let me show you this feature instead because it looks like it's not in Visual Studio's history. I'm going to come in here and let's go through. I want to grab everything in the current solution, and I think we called it accelerate past. Oh, you know what? I didn't. I did the undo on the rename, I guess, apparently, and I didn't do a redo on it. Okay, so we'll do that one more time. So let's come in here, and whoops, I'm doing it again. I'm totally hitting. I have function lock. So here's like the problem on the keyboard, right? This is like an example of the problem. I have function lock and I'm hitting F2, but I'm actually invoking undo. Hold on, let me bring it over here so you can see my pain and share it with me. Hold on, let's do this so you can see the same thing. So I'm hitting this key, which I'm thinking is F2, but it's really undo because I've got the function lock key on, right? So not my favorite in terms of what's happening here. So let me go back to that again. We'll get this and we'll go to accelerate. And we'll come back in here now one more time. Let's just do it this way with the CodeRush key. Choose rename and do accelerate past the speed of sound. Now we pretend that this is how we're starting and we want to change this. Now we're going to come in here, we'll do another rename on this. So let's say this is how we find it. We want to do the rename on it. And now what we can do is we can use these keys to come in here with the shift key, for example, grab the piece that we don't want, hit delete on that, move over to the next piece and hit delete as well, and then commit it just by hitting enter like that, for example. And so now we're able to grab the pieces we want very quickly with few keystrokes using just these keys right here. Okay?
Wow.
All right.
Awesome.
Goes through the, yeah, that's hot.
All right, yeah. Down here in the bottom left, I'm going to stop with my zooming in and out because these are nice and big and you can see these. I've got keys for increasing and decreasing the selection. So here, for example, I hit this key to increase the selection, hit it again one more time, and it's just increasing the selection in logical blocks like this. I can go backwards as well just by hitting this key right here to go back and undo that. And it can go all the way up to the top of the to the very top of the file. I can also, if I'm like, let me just move up one, here to the parent nodes here, right there. Now I'm at that if statement. If I just want to select the if statement, well, if I got the caret on it, I can just hit the plus key here, and it grabs that whole piece. I can also go even bigger, grab all the pieces, outside, or drop it down as well, that sort of thing. So, nice. And it also works for the method. So if I want to select the whole method that I'm in, right, it's like two keystrokes. It's this one to get out to put the caret on the public keyword, and this one to select the method, right? So you're starting to see how quick this can be, right, to work with.
That totally saved me some time last week.
You're talking about the regular CodeRush, right? Not the keyboard.
No, I already have the regular CodeRush. No, I actually use CodeRush, believe it or not. No, the keyboard would have saved me a lot of time.
Oh, would have saved you time. I thought you said it actually did save you time. No. And I was like,
no, if I would have had the keyboard, it would have saved more time.
So these features right here are new features that I wrote in the series that I felt would be, I kind of predicted, and it's still a prediction, at least for me it's working, and I think for other people, I think people will really like these features.
I think so. Yeah.
But these three right here, no, I'm talking about these three right here though. These are new. I've never seen these features in any other product. They're navigation features, and I'll start with the fields one. This is a field icon right here, Visual Studio field icon. And what this does is this will take me. In fact, let me get out of here. Let me go somewhere. Let's pretend I'm inside a method right in there. Okay. And now let's say I want to get to the fields of this class where fields are declared. I just hit the fields button. And it takes me to the first field that's declared. I hit it again. It takes me to the end of that group of fields that are declared. I hit it one more time. It takes me to the next group of fields, and then to the end of that. One more time takes me out to the next group. There I'm at the bottom of the page, and then the end of that. Okay? And then it just cycles around. So it just takes me through all of the sections of the class where fields are declared. I find this really useful when I'm looking at other people's code. Okay. The method one does the same thing. It takes me to where the methods are in the file. And if there are more than one section, here there's only one group of methods that are declared. And so it's just taking me to the beginning and the end. And then here, this one takes me to the properties. And I can also, if I hold down the Alt key with these, I can get to constructors if I hit this key, events if I hit the properties key, and constants if I hit the fields key. So that's what those 3 keys do. This is the Browse Recent Files button. This takes me to recent files. Whoops, it showed up on the other screen. Let me just bring it over here. So these are recent files that I've had open. Just a fast way to get to those. This key right here brings up Quick Nav, which is kind of essentially symbol nav. And what's really cool about this is like some competing products will have versions of this dialog that will show you, for example, only types, for example, or only members in the list. And you can configure that pretty easily just by passing different parameters to the QuickNav command. And so you could, for example, imagine binding this to find any symbol, but maybe Control key plus this to finding only types, for example. So that's what that does. This third one over is a Visual Studio feature. Let me get back to some deeper code. Oh wait, not there. I think over here. I had something. I had a reference to card right here. So here, if I'm here and I want to go drill in to see the declaration of it, instead of hitting like F12 or some other shortcut key, I just hit this key right here, of it. And then we've enhanced this so when I hit escape, I can hit escape now to get back, and it'll give me that little locator beacon to get in. So once again, I drill in, and then I hit escape to get out of there once I'm done, and it gives me the locator beacon to restore, get my eyes back in the right spots. I've shown everything but these two and this one, and so let's do these two right over here. These you can see they're a little bluer tint to these keys over here. These keys are for creating selections, and so one of the things that we can do, let's say for example we dropped a marker right here, and then we moved down to here. If I want to select from where I am to the marker, I just hit this button right here, and it will create a selection in that direction. This key brings back a feature I used all the time in Visual Studio up through version Visual Studio 2010, and then they took my shortcut binding key away from me and made it something else. And I was like, what? Why would you do that to me? Oh, I know why. It was for refactoring, I think. They added a refactoring to this. And then actually, I think, ironically, did they take it out? I think they did. Hold on a second. Let me go into Visual. Let me see what they did. It was, yeah, they took it out. So this is how they messed with me. They took my shortcut, which was Control R followed by the letter P. Then they added a refactoring, which was, I think, something to do with parameters or something like that. And then they removed it again. This is some speculation. I have to do some research to verify if this is indeed true. But I think they messed with me. Is what I think they did. And so I've got my. So anyway, I brought it back. I brought it back here. So let's go back here. We'll use this one first to select from the caret to the marker. And this one swaps the position of the block anchor to the selection and the active position. So here you can see the flashing I-beam cursor is down here. When I hit this button, it will change position up to here. And why is that useful? It's useful if I am extending the selection. For example, whoops, let me undo that. Let's pick up that marker. Let's go down one line. Let's just select here, for example. And let's say I want to extend the selection down, and I can do that using whatever, some shortcuts or whatever. I'm doing that. But now I want to extend the selection up. I just hit this key, and now I hold down the Shift key and I move the arrow up like that to go up. And I want to maybe increase the other side or adjust the other side. I just hit that key to get to the other side, and I can make changes to either side of the selection like that. So that is something I used all the time before. They took it away from me, and now it's back. So now the last key that to show is this one right up here, and this is the run last test key. And it is, so CodeRush comes with a really fast test runner in it. And one of the commands that we added was the ability to run the last test. But the command was added after the test runner originally shipped, so anybody who read about the test runner, who was learning about it, may not have learned about this command showing up. And I think our default, because Visual Studio takes all of these default shortcuts, we're left with a bunch of Control, Alt, or Shift combination keys left over. So what I've done here is I've just bound it because it's a great feature. It's hard to discover, and I've bound it to a shortcut key here. And so now if we come in, we're going to start by running a test. I'm just going to grab the mouse. I'm going to say run this test right here. And by the way, we also have commands for running the active test that you're in. So I might do a shift combination here. I'm not sure. So we run it, and we get a fail on it. Okay, so there's the fail. It shows me the line of code. It fails on. I can come over here. Let's drill into that line of code like that. And now I'm over here. In fact, what I really want to do is I want to say, let's create a new horizontal tab group. So now I'm in the method here on the bottom of the screen, and at the top you can see there's my test method right there, right? So now maybe I want to write some code here. Maybe I'm just writing some code. I'm not sure what's going to happen on this. And I say, well, let's run that other one again. Now all I've done is I haven't really fixed it yet. Well, I kind of fixed it. I don't have an exception. I guess what I should really do is come in, actually not in bend. Actually, let's actually go ahead and run it. We'll go ahead and run it. So we'll run the last test. I'll just hit this button right here. And now it's going to run it. So it's building and starting and running. And now up at the top, you should see, let's see, there we go. Testing started. And so we can see it's failed down here, and up at the top you can see it's failed. So we've got two indicators. The one at the bottom it's failed, and up at the top that it's failed as well. So now instead of failing on bend, we're now failing on is red. So what's cool about this is I haven't actually clicked up here yet anywhere. And we can imagine this is off somewhere else, right? We're not even looking at that. We're just over here. This is where our focus is. I'm going to do this just to emphasize that our focus is up here. We'll go ahead and keep this in the background like this so you can see that. But we're down here now in is red, and let's go ahead here, and we're just going to write some code, whatever that code is going to be to fix that, and then we're going to hit the key again and see if we've now fixed it. And it's just going to run the last test case or the last group of test cases that we ran, whatever those are. And I can see, Gus, your face is smiling big, so I don't know if we can share that with the kids or not, but Gus is liking this. He's nodding his head. Now you can see at the bottom we've got one passed, no failed, none ignored, and there you can see the green checkbox right there. The test is passed. So that is, let me go back over. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and we'll come back over in here to live faces. And
that is definitely fantastic, Mark. I'm seriously, how can I get one? No, build my own, right?
Well, I've got to build your own. We talked when I was talking about to the marketing folks at DevExpress about this. I said, hey, I'm going to do this blog series post. They were like, hey, we could give away some of these keyboards. However, that was just, they did that, and then I kind of, didn't tell them, oh, hey guys, we're about to do this. Should we give some away?
Oops.
So what I want to do though, let's just go ahead and go out on a limb. Let's say we are in fact doing this. Can you guys have the ability to do some kind of contest and award something to one of your listeners?
Sure.
Absolutely. Yep.
So let's do that. So if one of your listeners out there wants to get a keyboard that's built and configured just like this, do whatever, jump through whatever hoop Gus and JJ have you jump through, and and they'll get me your name, and I'll get you one of these. And then it's just a matter of installing the software. You can of course change it up if you want to, but if you have Visual Studio and CodeRush, it makes it a lot easier because some of the features are exploiting some of those features that we've built and are running inside of CodeRush inside Visual Studio.
Of course.
That's gorgeous. Yes. Thank you so much for the opportunity to give this to a lucky listener, and we'll make sure we put them through their gauntlet, if you will. But it'll be fun and all in good fun, and I think a lot of people will have a good time for it for sure.
Yep, we'll definitely post information on how to do that in the next day or so.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So
Mark,
that's it for me.
That is amazing. Thank you so much for all of that. There was a time I was like, I was getting ready to ask a question, but you were just taking care of it. You were taking care of business. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Good. Phenomenal as always. That's why we asked to have you back, and we'll ask you to have you back as many times as you want to be on our show, because you're a phenomenal guy, great talent, and you explain things very well, and you even slow it down for the internet. So we appreciate that.
Right.
Having said that, let's go ahead and hop into our announcements of the week. Gus, why don't you go ahead and get us started with what's coming up for us on the show?
Sure, we've got a couple of shows coming up in a couple of weeks. Xamarin is coming on to demonstrate their software. We're going to do a meeting with them next week to figure out exactly what they're talking about, and we should be able to announce that next show. We've also got the one of the co-founders of Track.js coming on to talk about client-side tracking of customer methods and whatnot. So you don't necessarily have to code this in your own code. There's actually some components out there to do that for you. Other than that, in a little over a week, I'll be at Dev Connections in Vegas from the 15th through the 19th. Look me up. I'll be wearing a CodeCast shirt most of the time, and I'll be down there with a lot of other speakers, and we'll be talking about a lot of really cool topics. So come check it out. It's going to be a great time. JJ?
Yep. So here at STL Tech Talk, we have a lot of stuff going on here and around the St. Louis area. We got Strange Loop Conference. It's down at downtown at the Peabody Opera House. It's going to be phenomenal. There's going to be a lot of guests there. Jessica Kerr is going to be there, a great guest on our show. Also, Start Lewis, where it's a Women in Tech deal that's going on. We're going to be there for that. Also, Startup Voodoo. So the guys who founded Twitter and the likes are going to be there. That's going to be really cool. It's a good hometown story. Also, we're going to be doing a pre-compiler session show for St. Louis Days of .NET. So go to stlouisdays.net website and sign up for the pre-compiler session, and that is with STL Tech Talk. That is me, Gus, Kevin, Alejandro Ramirez, and Andy Long, one of our developers. So we're so looking forward to that, guys, and that's our announcements for the week. But I do know that Mark wanted to talk about some of his announcements as well.
Oh yeah, I have got a UI superhero tour that I'm doing with Billy Hollis, and I just put the link to that into the chat window. I'm not sure if you guys can see that or not, but I hope they can. This is very cool stuff. We've got 2 sessions at the beginning in the morning, one that I'm giving and one that Billy Hollis is giving. They both contain material that's never been presented before, never seen before stuff. In fact, my session is actually, there's essentially, you guys asked me, is there anything I want to plug? One of them is this, because I think there's a huge amount of value in these sessions. You're going to see some good stuff. We've already sold out in the first 3 places we're doing this at. We have room in Dallas and in Denver, Dallas on October 8th and Denver on October 9th. This is 2014 for anybody who's listening in the future. And with regards to the session that I'm giving, the biology and the science behind great user interfaces, I want to plug my Pluralsight course that is coming out in end of September, beginning of October, called The Science of Great UI. I'm calling it my magnum opus. It is the best work I've ever done with regards to communicating the essence of great user interfaces. Right? It is really good stuff. I think it's compelling. It's like you've seen the latest Cosmos with Neil deGrasse Tyson. Sure. It's like that version of Cosmos, version of PowerPoint presentations of the science of great UI. That's really awesome. It's very good. I'm super excited about it. In this roadshow that we're doing, the UI Superhero Roadshow, you'll see previews of that course. But look for that course coming out on Pluralsight. The first course is about 3 hours long. It's going to be 1 in 4 parts. And this first course I've been working on for over a year in terms of doing research, collecting great evidence, great examples. I think it's gonna move you, it's gonna change you, and it'll stick with you after you see it. So that's I'm super excited about that.
Oh, absolutely. Pluralsight subscriber, so I'll watch it and enjoy every bleeping minute of it. No. So I'm saving my editor time right now. So that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that with us as well as your demo. It was awesome to have you on. I do this thing at the end of every show. Tell charities that I think people should know about. Hope Line, a domestic violence prevention program and support organization that's through Verizon Wireless. Also, the Women's Safe House here in St. Louis. Safe Connections, also to protect from domestic violence. Also, the Schumann Water Project. That's schumannwater.com, and Hope for Young Adults with Cancer. So all of those will be in the show notes. So I hope all of you, if you have time or take some time out to donate to those organizations, you totally should. So Gus, what is your final thoughts in the end of this wonderful episode?
Well, first off, I want to thank Mark for coming on. I was lucky enough to actually see this keyboard in person and talk to Mark. And I know, Mark, you and I have been talking for a couple of months anyway about this keyboard, and not only did it meet my expectations, but it blew me away. So I can tell you that I think it would be awesome to have one, and I do think that once you get adept to CodeRush and some of the functionality that some people may not know right away, it's going to really, really speed them up and actually get rid of a lot of bottlenecks that Visual Studio may cause, right? Yeah, as great as it is, it does have a couple of bottlenecks that you showed tonight, like flipping selections and parameters and refactoring and whatnot. It's just fantastic what you can do with just a couple of buttons and knowing the internals of Visual Studio. So thank you for making such a great product.
No, you're welcome, and I'm equally enthusiastic about it. I think that it's a great first step towards something that could be really, really awesome, right? I'm kind of imagining, the Transformers of keyboards, but also, super strong, super reliable, and lightweight, but built for programmers. That's what I want. I feel like we've got about 30 million programmers out there. I think it's a big enough market that we can create a special, dedicated keyboard that satisfies a lot of them.
I agree.
So that's what I'm hoping maybe this turns into.
Well, they've done gamers, so why can't we do devs? I mean, seriously.
Right. Well, yeah, and even editors of musicians and that. If you see, people who edit those types of things, the different keyboards that they have. I mean, that's just a great explanation of a use case scenario. And when I see those, and what's really cool, guys, for those who listen to the audio version, what's really cool is if you go to the site, the Dev Express, we're going to have the link on the show notes as well. He does a really good job, Mark does, of showing you alternatives. The different buttons that was originally talked about at the very beginning of the show. Just a really well done post in general, but I mean more specifically to speaking to how you can kind of customize and what you're going to be working with.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah, it's a great series. I definitely suggest reading the blog posts too.
Absolutely. So, Mark, where can more people find out about you and what you are doing?
Well, you can go to devexpress.com/Mark. That's my my blog post. I'm not like a regular daily blogger. I tend to spend a lot of time doing research.
Right.
And however, when I do surface there, it tends to be relatively newsworthy, I think, or maybe I like to think it is. It's like something I think is significant, something I'm passionate about. That's when it comes out. That's a good place. If you want to get specifically to this keyboard series, it's devexpress.com/keyboard. So you can get there.
Cool.
Okay.
Perfect. And also, I wanted to let everybody know that tomorrow night we are debuting with our new show, The Tech Informist, and that is going to start. We're going to kick our very first show off with Mary Jo Foley, the writer at ZDNet and Windows Weekly. That's our first guest. So we're doing it right out of the gate. Let me just say it like that. So, Mark, thank you so much for being on the show. Gus, thank you for everything that you do as well. And thank you to all of our fans. We love and thank you for all your support of the show. Also, stay tuned, because if you want one of these keyboards, you can get one if you go through a little rigmarole that we're going to come up with probably right after the show. So from the entire STL Tech Talk crew, good coding. We're out.